Hello Libra, and welcome to your semi-biweekly reading. So this is a collective reading for Sun or Rising Libra from the period of time from the new moon on June 17th in Gemini for tropical astrology. Actually, it was this one that was really coming out, to the full moon on July 3rd. So which deck? This deck. So these are meant to be very short and sweet readings, just to give a little bit of spiritual direction, spiritual guidance for how you can best maximize and use the energy for this waxing phase of the moon, this building energy for this approximate 2-week period of time, right? So I know that I was including astrology in the videos, but it was just making them too long. So I've separated out into a different video, the astrology highlights, for the second half of June, which has timestamps and was released just before these videos. So I'll make sure to put that up on the screen so that if you wanted to check that out, you can really check that out. And again, like if you want kind of like the overall full, distracted by 2 cards. If you want the overall full reading for like the month of June, I'll also put that up on the screen so you can check that out. That's just like, you know, going through the month and going through like the beginning, middle, and end of the month and the challenges and what kind of spiritual direction you're getting there as well. All right, so Libra, let's get into this. All right, so we're taking a look at just kind of where the attention is being drawn towards, like what area of your life, what themes in your life you can look to that we could say whatever you believe in, universe, your guides, whatever brought you here, but through serendipitous, you know, kind of means or synchronicity brought you here. And so this is what we're looking at, right? We're looking at Pisces as the place where you're being drawn to. Now, Pisces as a sign, as it goes, there's some really beautiful things about Pisces. And there are also, some challenges that come in with the Pisces sign. Now, again, I'm not talking about characteristics or personality, as in I'm talking about like if a Pisces happens to be listening to this, or this is what a Pisces is, right? It's so much more complex than that when it comes to astrology, so let's not do that. So when we're looking at some of the like qualities of what Pisces brings in, there's a very spiritual quality that gets brought into Pisces. It's this kind of dissolving of the boundaries between self and other, self and the world, and wanting to like connect in this way that feels like kind of all-encompassing. And that can be really beautiful. And also it can, you know, create issues with boundaries, like boundaries between yourself and others or yourself and the world, and not really being able to uphold or maintain them in a way that is necessarily healthy, right? And Pisces can also be about like this very, like I said, very spiritual, kind of otherworldly, like different dimension type of energy, right? So this can also be pointing to like, are you getting out into nature? Are you going into meditative states? Are you paying attention to essentially the health of your, whatever you deem spiritual? I don't want to dictate what that is for anybody. So whatever spirituality means to you, whatever that sense of like connectedness is, whatever brings you into that space, whether it's like yoga or meditation or nature walks or whatever it is, how are you being, like art, right? That can be another thing too. It's a very creative sign too. You can imagine like there's a lot of beauty and art that comes into this. So similar to Venus, but in a very different way, right? And so this like is, I think, bringing in where are you paying attention to these realms. And also it's a very sensitive sign. I mean, it says sensitize here, but it's a very sensitive sign. Like they're very feeling and intuitive, very deeply connected, and often very empathic. And so, you know, again, it's like bringing back, are you taking care of your spiritual health? Are you taking care of your emotional health? And like, how are you tending to that? Like, what are the things that you're doing to tend to that? And if you're feeling overwhelmed in life, if right now you happen to be going through an experience or experiences where you just feel pressurized, or if the world feels overwhelming because of the level of sensitivity that's present, and not to say that you're sensitive yourself, but more just like we go through those periods sometimes. And if you feel overwhelmed and you're desiring to escape, escapism can be another place of Pisces where it can go into shadow, right? So are you escaping in ways that are to the point of like being unhealthy or toxic or ultimately just not good for you and like where you want to go in life, right? Because we all need to check out sometimes, but to the degree that it works and that it doesn't start to like dismantle our lives in a certain way and be destructive, right? So interestingly enough, I feel like that, like the kind of spiritual, mental, emotional health, that like piece that's coming in, or the connectedness and whatnot, or feeling overwhelmed. I feel like there's a connection for some of you Libras out there that are dealing with maybe some intensity, because there is this kind of feeling shut into your like backed into a corner, and feeling kind of like there aren't very many options, or that you're kind of stuck in a certain place, or that you're being like a kind of trapped in some way. And the thing about the Eight of Swords, when it comes up, like the advice with this is to question your beliefs, to question whether you are seeing or feeling things clearly during this next 2-week period of time. Make sure that you're checking in with yourself and being like, is that fact or fiction? Like, is that a story that I'm creating based on what I see as facts that I'm connecting and creating a story out of, or is that what's true? Also, another really helpful thing with this particular card is to see that you actually have way more options than you think you have available to you. That's like, we tend to kind of limit ourselves and go into a space of backing ourselves into a corner or feeling trapped because we don't see how much choice and agency we actually have in our life. Oftentimes the choices or paths that we don't tend to recognize or even see are because we don't want to acknowledge them, because they're harder, they're not ideal, they're not what we really want, and so we kind of just dismiss them. And this is an opportunity for you to just like widen your perspective, question your beliefs, question your thoughts, question whether that's really so, and then from that place, I think you'll be able to open up the world of possibility to you and see like there's actually more choice. You have more agency. You just need to maybe get creative about like the ways in which you navigate if you're dealing with any kind of difficulties. And we have the Queen of Wands also showing up with this, right? And the Queen of Wands, the thing that I really love about Queen of Wands is like there's a level of holding herself in this place of, it's confidence, but it's confidence that comes from like this fiery kind of directive, like this knowing, this intuitive sense, like because the fire suit is also intuitive, but it's intuitive with like motion, it's intuitive with action. And I feel like, she's just a very like warm, inviting, and like she's the person everyone wants to just be around, but she's also full of magic, right? And like if we take those qualities of like a queen sitting in her own right and sitting in that space and being able to like hold that kind of energy, is someone who trusts their power, right? Trusts and knows their power, and that they can trust their intuition and to be able to take action, right? Motion, because I feel like fire is often like intuition and motion in action, right? Like there is this kind of like drive to do something with it. I think with the fire suit, that's how it feels to me, right? So I think that, once you can clear out some of these beliefs and you can kind of step back into a place of your personal power, and you can start to trust your like the intuition that comes up and the action that needs to be taken from that, right? Because this isn't a time to like necessarily just like, sometimes you got to sit back and you got to reconnect with yourself and your sense of spirituality and all of these things. And then there is a time where it's like, okay, great, now I can tap into my intuition, I can tap into what's here, and I can make decisions to go forward. And if there is a time, obviously there's other astrology that's going on, so it's not just as simple as like, oh, it's the waxing phase of the moon, so I should just be building things. It's like, obviously it's going to affect us differently depending on your natal chart. Just like if you get a reading, it's going to always be more specific and accurate when you get a one-to-one reading versus listening to a collective reading, right? By the way, if you do want that, it's in the description box below if you wanted to book with me. So this is like bringing you into this kind of state of like, yes, there is something to be balanced here. It feels like there's an inward process and like a clearing out, and then there's a trusting the intuition and like moving forward from that place. So I like this, it might not feel, it's basically reminds me of like, okay, it's just time to do some personal work, right? It's just time to do the work, and we all like got to go through that. So Hopefully this was helpful, and you know, if it was insightful, if it was helpful, please consider giving the video a like, subscribing, and hitting the notification bell so you don't miss any of the videos on the horizon. If you want to check out the astrology for this month, I'll have that up on the screen. And then also, if you want to check out the full month for a Libra, you can check that out. I'll have that up on the screen as well. As always, thank you for your time and for being here. I will see you in the next video. Bye.